Okay, this is video 2, and what this goes into is more making the brake program. And what we can do is make the program or program the brakes here in the office, which allows more uptime in our machines out in the shop because we don't have to program it at the controller there. Also allows us to kind of take a look at the program and notice issues before we send the job out on the floor, which once again allows more uptime on our brakes out in the shop. And some additional things is this also allows us to schedule our brakes properly. So if we have like a handful of jobs that we need to run in our shop, we can pick all those jobs that we need to run and then schedule it. And what it'll tell us is, let's say we have 2 brakes that run off this system. It'll say, okay, bend these 3 parts over on this brake because they're all a 2-3 V-dive, and then bend these other 2 parts off this other brake. It's the 984. So that ultimately allows less setup time on our brakes because we're bending more jobs with the same tooling, so it allows us to take out tooling setup time. So the first thing is you schedule. We got a whole bunch of customers in here that you just click on this and it shows all our customers, and then from there you pick the part and you put it down in this area, and that's kind of like your scheduling. I'm not going to go too far into that because that's kind of gets advanced, but I can show you that anybody that later on if they choose to see it. So after you do what you want for that day, you hit that button, and what that does is it kind of puts you in this screen, which is your scheduling screen for the day. And also what this does is it tells you, okay, these are the things we need to program or are already programmed or are programmed, but they might have some issues you want to take a look at. I want to show you a couple things here. The first thing is there's a couple buttons down here. One's called manual and one's called auto. Most of the time, well, I should say 60% of the time this works, where you can click on a new part and hit auto and it'll figure out the bend sequence and the bend order and the right tooling for you. I'll show you that later on. Once again, it works about 60% of the time. It works for, you could probably say, for all easy parts. For harder parts, sometimes you got to go into the program and clean it up, or you got to make them yourself altogether. So in this part right here that we took a look at that I did in Sheetworks, it was a little bit harder. It was not able to find a great bend sequence, but it did find a bend sequence for us, but it did have some issues. So we go into here, and what it does is it tells us the bend order. So you see V1, V2, V3. That's the bend order and how this part's going to get bent up. And then there's a bunch of different other buttons here that kind of shows you, you know, you can take away some things on the machine to see this better or whatnot. Now this is the exact same thing that our controller is seeing out in the shop. So when our guys get this job, they see that this exact same graphics. And as we play this through now, it'll show this part getting bent up. And the guy making this program in the office and the guy out in the shop can take this graphics, he can turn it to make sure nothing's happening with this part when it's hitting. Now this part did have an issue. It was right here where it bends up the sides. It was hitting this punch holder right here when it forms up, and I'll show you this. Right there, it shows you that it's hitting it. So what we can do here is we can just delete that punch holder out, and this bend will now work. You see that area right there falls right through, and it's great. And the operator will also see that on his graphics out in the shop that he needs to remove that punch holder to have that area of the part pass through. So what I'm going to do now is exit out of this. can go back into this other part that's a lot easier. It's just a 2-bend part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to auto sequence this. And hopefully it works. And what a guy can do is he can select like 5 of these and then hit auto sequence bend and then walk away and come back, and it's probably going to be all done. But that one has a green light to it, so it means it was able to find a sequence. So what we'll do is, if we just want to check it out, we hit the manual. It tells us the bends it's going to perform. It shows the side of the V-dive. And we can go ahead and take a look at how this is going to bend up. And it bends up great with the tooling it's selected. I don't know if it's exactly how I would have done it. I think I would have rotated the part different or had the gooseneck in there different, but it did find a solution that we can go with, or if I'm not happy with that, I can make some changes pretty quick and with some couple clicks of the button. So once again, we'll just play that one more time, just because I think it's cool. And once again, this is the exact same graphics that the guy sees out in the shop. And as he's forming it, this thing will light up in the shop what bend he's on. So if he ever forgets what bend he's on and how he's got to put the part in, this thing lights up to show him, hey, you're doing this bend now. And that is about it. That's the end of what I wanted to show you. So, once again, if we get a model file, we can go through the Sheetworks, enter the V-dive, it'll make the blank correct, and then from there we can go into Dr. Abe, program the brake, and now we can send this out to the shop to be laser cut. And then the brake guys can just pull up the program, grab their parts, and start forming. Of course, he's got to put in the right tooling and stuff, which he'll have all that information, but he can just doesn't have to worry about programming the brake at all, and then go from there. Now, if the brake guy doesn't like what we did in the office, he can change it, and then he can save it out in his brake, and then it's saved out there for a while, and then it also comes back into office here telling us, hey, this was changed by the brake operator, and usually we go and talk to the brake operator why he changed it and how we can make that better for him in the future. If you got any questions, give me a call on this. Thanks.